Hello everyone, this is RarityFangirl31VA and welcome to my new video series, Character Workshop. Here we'll be taking characters from any completed show, manga, comic, movie, franchise, etc. and seeing how I would personally improve them. This is all completely subjective, but as I am a person with tons of ideas and hate seeing wasted potential, I thought I'd share these thoughts with you all, and I hope you share yours as well. Major spoilers ahead for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 anime, so if you have not seen it yet and do not wish to be spoiled, come back to this video at a later time. With the intro out of the way, let's jump into the first character workshop. And it's only fitting to start off with a character who many fans of Arc 5 love, including myself, but sadly had so much wasted potential in the show itself. I'm talking about, of course, the big bad of the show himself, Supreme Dragon King Zarc! Now, for those of you who don't know or just need a refresher, Zarc is the original reincarnation of Yuya, Yuto, Yugo, and Yuri from the original dimension, who, due to giving in to the crowd's demands to make duels more violent, along with developing a severe case of "I want to be the best" syndrome, eventually fused himself with his 4 dragons by the power of his astrograph sorcerer to become the Supreme Dragon King. He devastated his homeland with his supreme power, but was stopped by Rei Akaba and the power of the Nature Energy cards, splitting Zarc and herself up into 4 pieces to be reincarnated across the 4 new dimensions. He is the constant dark force plaguing the minds of the 4 U-boys throughout the anime, and is the cause of them going into their awakened, or sometimes referred to as berserk state, which causes them to take on their original self's lust for destruction, and makes the 4 pieces want to become one and revive Zarc once more. He does eventually revive in episode 135, and then proceeds to battle most of the main cast in a giant 11-on-1 duel, defeating them all until he is defeated himself due to the revival of Rei within Reira, and Yuya taking control of his demonified body. After his soul is then placed inside of a now girl baby Reira, he is never to be seen again due to his soul presumably being put to rest because of Yuya's dueling in the aftermath of his defeat. Now, on paper, Zarc sounds like an interesting, cool final villain. In fact, I showed and told a little bit about him to my friends who have never seen the show before, and they said, "Oh, this sounds like a cool and amazing character." However, the show itself never really got to capitalize on his potential or use it to the fullest. Most of what we learn about Zarc is told to us in a flashback in episode 126, which is where he also makes his first appearance with the blacked out face for some reason. Seriously, this choice has always bothered me since we already know his face is going to look just like the other U-boys, so why even hide it? Was it to make him look more villainous? To make him look kind of more edgy? I don't know, but anyway, we're getting off topic. The point is that most things we learn about Zarc are told to us, not shown to us through his actions. Sure, we see him destroying things and boasting about how great and powerful he is, but we lost any of the complexity he should have had. He was someone who gave into intense peer pressure, taking on a facade that was against everything he was known to do, which many celebrities do in our common age, and didn't realize he wasn't being himself. If they devoted more time into a backstory for Zarc, actually showing his slow corruption over time instead of just having it be a brief montage of narration, it would have been much better. An idea I've always had since him and Rei were both pro-duelist, show a scene of her confronting Zarc about his change in style, and he retorts saying he's just doing what his audience wants so they can be happy. Not only would this strengthen Zarc's character and make him seem a lot more progressive and actually develop, but Rei's as well to show kind of a relationship between the two, which was never really shown in the show. And make Rei's sacrifice in the end and Zarc and Rei's conflict a lot more powerful and make more sense. Another element of Zarc the writers did not even seem to utilize was the fact he got reincarnated as 4 different people instead of just 1. I mean, sure, Yuya is the closest to Zarc in personality and he is the main character, but where were the aspects of Zarc that were in Yuto, Yugo, and Yuri? We never really got to see that with his personality, or in fact capitalize on the fact that all 4 of them combined to make Zarc. Yuto was only really mentioned by Shun and Kaito, and Yugo was briefly mentioned by Shingo. No one bothered to mention Yuri because, well, Yuri had no friends and he tried to kill everyone. But still, you get what I'm saying. Even the form Zarc takes in the present is a showcase of this, being a demon Yuya instead of a demon version of his human form, which we did see blacked out in the flashback. Now, I know this was done most likely due to time constraints on the animator's parts, but why couldn't he change his appearance to look like the other boys then? Like changing him to look like Yuto when dueling Shun and Kaito, or Yugo when dueling Jack and Gongensuka. Imagine all the drama and emotional moments that we had if Zarc addressed himself as that person when fighting them and using the voice. For example, when he was fighting Shun and Kaito, he used Yuto's voice and he was talking about how much he loved their homeland being destroyed. Or use Yugo as a facade to say how he's finally achieving his dream of destroying the Duel King when he was fighting Jack Atlas. And by the time Ray shows up, he's a demonic version of himself. So we see a natural progression of his change, and makes us feel like we're watching Zarc and not just a demified Yuya Sakaki. Things like that would not only make Zarc a much more memorable and malicious villain character who's really manipulative of other people's emotions, but also solidify the fact that these 4 characters we've been following throughout the show have been corrupted, and we need to save them all instead of just Yuya, giving the show those emotional and surprising moments it really needed in its last few episodes. Speaking of duel monsters was also a very underutilized trait of Zarc that so easily could have been included more. Sure, we get information about how his monsters feel, but we ourselves never really see those feelings aside from a whale-like song at the end of episode 146, which was adorable and really cute, but we needed more stuff like that. The dragons could have easily had personalities and Zarc could talk to them as they were summoned in the duel. After all, he is a king, and doesn't a king need subjects? It also gives Zarc's dueling a much more weight to it as well, and really utilize the fact that he is half duel monster and commands over duel monsters. Perhaps he even talks to the heroes monsters as they duel, and puts them into submission with his power, showing that he desires to not only be a supreme power of humans, but also duel monsters as well. It gives Arc 5 a cool throwback to the duel monster spirit world seen in the first 3 shows, making even more to connection to GX the Supreme King, and make Zarc a much more intimidating and cooler villain in my opinion. The final idea I've had for Zarc is to see him in the aftermath of his defeat, not having his soul concealed inside a baby and telling us how he's feeling, but instead of having his soul actually speak through Yuya. Maybe he gets trapped inside the pendulum so he cannot take over Yuya or the other boys again. Seeing him after he's lost everything. Seeing him break down from all the emotions and pain he's had over the years. Maybe the dragons kind of have a cry song and try to comfort him in spirit. Perhaps he's upset with himself for not being able to give the world the ultimate entertainment he wanted to bring them and he thought they wanted. And for being defeated twice in a row by Rei Akaba. And perhaps even about, the other performers, someone's going to turn out just like him if the crowds are going to continue to abuse and just want violence. After seeing this, the other characters, which could be the U-Boys and Rei most likely, come to have some sympathy for Zarc and say things like, you don't have to perform anymore, you've done enough. And then Yuya takes it upon himself to continue Zarc's legacy of dueling with smiles to bring joy to monsters, the audience, and his opponents. Hearing this and finally realizing he got too caught up in pleasing others, Zarc's soul is put to rest along with Rei's and leave their reincarnations to guide the world into a bright future with their legacy. So, basically to summarize, give Zarc a longer backstory where we slowly see his corruption, make use of the fact he is a combination of all 4 U-Boys, and use that to his advantage when dueling with the cast to make him not seem like a stereotypical I want to take over the world villain, utilizing his ability to speak with duel monsters, and having his duel monster half be a central part of his character, and have him talk to not only his monsters, but also the opponents, and finally, giving Zarc closure at the end when he is defeated, and let his soul be a rest of Rei's as they leave their reincarnations to live out their legacies. If only Arc 5 had much more time to dedicate to its main antagonist, then he would have been able to live up to all this potential. But I stated at the start, everything checks out on paper, but it was not executed correctly. I am happy to report though that many fans in the creative side of the community, from artists to writers, have been depicting Zarc and wanting to make him into a character he deserved to be, instead of what the show gave us. I hope they continue to do so because I love seeing what fans come up with for characters who seriously needed some TLC, which is why I'm also making these videos. So, how would you guys improve Zarc if given the chance? Do you agree with what I said? Leave your thoughts below. I look forward to reading them. And that's it for this workshop. These videos I'm going to try my best to do twice a month, but with my education and of course putting time into the manga drama videos when I can start to put them together, they could be delayed for one reason or another. Follow me on Twitter, though, for the latest updates on all my videos, so you can stay in the loop. Also, if there is a character from a completed series you would like me to talk about, leave it in the comments below. Does it have to be Yu-Gi-Oh? It can be, but it doesn't have to be. If the character has been suggested already, though, just like that comment, or, give it a thumbs up so there isn't too much comment spin in there when I'm trying to look through the comments for suggestions. And that's it. So, until the next workshop, stay happy and healthy, guys, and bye!